Accelerate your dealership success. This is the Car Guy Simple Podcast.
Hi, Joe Levine from the Car Guy Simple Podcast. CGS for short. Welcome. We just keep growing. And thanks to everybody that's watching and listening. And as I always say, tell your friends. We appreciate you taking the time. This podcast is clearly for everybody in the retail automobile business, whether wholesale, retail, anything, parts, sales, service, right? Fixed or variable environments, wholesale, doesn't matter. We're all about providing information and help for everybody because we're all in this together. So speaking about that, let's dive right in. I want to start out talking about fade. And as you know, I always give credit where credit's due. So my former sensei, who unfortunately passed away, may he rest in peace, Kiskeel Sensei taught me a lot of things, taught us all a lot of things. One of the things he used to refer to as fade, right? You could practice blocking punches to the head 5,000 times a day and really get proficient and just be an outstanding professional blocker of shots to the face. That's great. It's wonderful. And then one day you figure, I got this. Because isn't that the human way, right? I got this, right? And what happens? Fade immediately says, oh, it's showtime. And I don't mean for this pod, right? I got this. I don't need to work on it as much. I don't need to work on it as hard. And fade starts to creep in. And then one day you're leaving someplace with somebody that you care about and a person jumps out from behind a car and you don't block what's coming at your head because fade creeped in. It happens in all walks of life, right? It happens to all different endeavors. Golfers, if you play, right? And you come off the range and you think, I got this, right? And you warmed up, I got this. You get to the first tee and well, it's not what you expected. Or you had a month worth of just really great performance and then you go to get some rehearsal time in. I don't like to call it practice time on the range. You go to get rehearsal time in and you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. I mean, it's just every ball is just all over the place, right? The fade. So what? Well, the what is fade. So what is pretty simple. Fade creeps in wherever we look in the car business because the car business is a people business. I love to ask that in big rooms, right? What business are we in? The car business, this business, that business. We're in the people business, man. Whether it's internal customers, right, which is our teammates inside of our organization, or external customers that are outside of our organization that do business with us. So there's two types, right? There's internal and external customers, right? So fade creeps in even at the consumer level, right? Where the consumer is maybe not as well schooled as they used to be on leasing because it hasn't been a thing for a while, or whatever the topic is. Or maybe they've always leased their vehicles and I never had to replace my tires, but now they're in year 8 of their ownership, right? Or year 6 of their ownership or whatever. And they look at the repair order and what do you mean I need brakes? What do you mean I need this? What do you mean I need that? And they may not be used to paying for those things because they got out of the vehicle potentially before those items were due to be serviced, replaced, or whatever. So how do we prevent fade? Well, fade is a product of misapplication of time. If we want to get technical, Joey's dictionary. Kidding, I don't want to write that. It's really, fade is quite prevalent because we're human. We're supposed to have fade because we'll learn more from failure than we do success, right? Best practices should be maintained wherever and whenever you're doing anything. I mean, when I was a salesperson just selling cars, I was always in the upper 30s. My average, my delta was 36. Most cars I ever sold in a single month was 42. So what? That really doesn't mean anything on paper. It meant something to my bank account. If I had a month where I would deliver 34 units, you thought just time stopped, the earth stopped spinning, gravity ceased to exist. You know, this mug was just floating around. That's not reality. Reality is quite the opposite of that. right? We need to make sure that we're consistent. If we run a consistent string of behaviors, a series of behaviors, we're going to be better off. So whatever you've learned to do or not do, every day, same thing, every day, without exception, without fail. Prevent fade from creeping into your business, whether you're a salesperson, you're in business for yourself, or whatever position you hold in the car business, right? I'm sure if you're coaching maybe your son's baseball game or team, or maybe you're coaching your daughter's field hockey team, or you're acting in some type of coaching capacity. Do you ever go in the locker room and say, "Okay, kids, today, do whatever you feel like. And if you're not feeling it, fake it"? No, we want to be consistent with our behavior. Okay, so fade, something to remember and something to remind yourself of. Consistent behavior yields constant improvement. So now let's shift gears. Hey, that was pretty good. That even goes with our logo. I get this one asked to me a lot, and it's one of my favorite ones. And you'll hear more about this in upcoming episodes where we start talking about quantity versus quality. And I'd like to replace the quantity word with the word tonnage. Because in the automobile industry, most prevalent, right, more often than not, we hear about this particular comparison in the digital space. Okay? And I am not throwing stones at any dealership, employee base, team, vendor. I'm just saying there's two schools of thought. Two schools of thought that do what? Well, more is better, because the more people that we get interest from, the more vehicles we're going to deliver. Really? Well, let's look at the data. The data says quite the opposite. Tonnage doesn't deliver cars. Quality delivers vehicles. And listen, if you're listening to this, if you're watching it instead, if you're doing both, thank you, by the way. And as you always hear me say, tell your friends, right? Think about it this way. Everybody is capable of only managing so many people and so many conversations. Tonnage robs us of quality time with quality. Let's just talk about in the digital space, say, website activity. Let's start there, right? Tonnage is a lot of people coming to the website. Look at the great job we're doing. Dun, 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 right? Trumpets are blowing, right? This is really good. No, it's not. More doesn't mean more. More just means more. More quality is more. Time on site is very low. Our bounce rate is very high. Page views are off. We're not adhering to the rule of threes. Just as an example, Joe, we can't, 3 minutes on site, we can't even get 3 seconds. Well, who are you doing business with? What are they selling you? Are you happy with the tonnage that you're getting? What percentage of that tonnage is converting to showroom traffic, right? You got to think about that versus quality traffic. How long on site? How many page views? When they finally raise their hand, the consumer, and they want to start dialogue at some level, how much easier is it to convert a quality lead into a showroom traffic counted visit, right? Because if we don't look at it that way, and quite frankly, we're going to have a lot of people going in and we're going to watch our closing ratio fall like a stone. And we'll talk about closing ratios in a minute. Just think about it this way. If I have a tonnage play in mind and I have a 5% closing ratio with my digital leads, and I decide to just go buy more tonnage, just get me in front of everybody. Don't worry about metrics. Just get me in front of everybody. Everybody, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Well, is that going to sell more vehicles? No, we already know that. Because as quality erodes, so does time on site. So do the page views. So does the motivation of the consumer to really go, you know what? I'm ready to talk with you. That's really what happens. Okay? So sometimes we have to slow things down and speed them up. We all love to brag about big time closing ratios. That's great. And most people would argue, I think successfully, that I would be willing to give up a few points of first-time closing ratio if the quality traffic was there, right? Because I'm going to be able to get more people in the door, and I will sell and deliver more vehicles even with a lower rate of people hitting my site, because now I'm not focused on tonnage. And we can talk about the funnel thing and the bottom of the funnel. Just put that on the shelf for a minute. Just think logically. Is more always more? Or could it be argued that less is more if we're talking about quality? So think about that. Feel free to fire back at me with counterpoints and questions and suggestions and whatever you'd like. But I'd really like you to think about that and process that, which allows us now to segue over to closing ratios, because we talk about, well, tonnage, right, versus the quality and how that affects closing ratios. So let's talk about closing ratios. Why is our central focus, for the most part in this country, in the United States, when it comes to new car dealerships, solely, well, close to solely focused on first-time closing ratio? You've heard me say this before. I want to say it again. I still maintain and have proven it, as has our entire organization and all of our team, right? Whether it's in the training environment, whether it's in our advertising agency, whether it's in our digital advertising environment, our digital company, that, yeah, if we solely rely on first-time closing ratio, we're not really hitting it on all cylinders. We preach 30% of a dealership's volume monthly needs to come from B-back sales. That forces the issue of how to treat B-back consideration, B-back communication, B-back understanding, right? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What's the most important thing? Between 1 and 10, how do we get from a 6 to a 10? Whatever your questions are, if we don't ask anything and we are all just going to sit there and go, well, last month, my closing ratio in my store was 72%. Well, what about your closing ratio on B-backs? Well, they're really not in the market anymore. Well, how long do you chase them for? How long do you go after them for? Well, 30 days, right? You need to be going after people for 120 days. Joe, well, don't let the gray and the goatee kid you. Just because I'm an older guy doesn't mean that I only ascribe to the buy or die mentality. I do believe that I have the right, I've earned the right to ask somebody to buy, lease, whatever, a vehicle from me, because I have gone through all of my steps, I've kept up my communication, and I have earned the right to sell or lease you a vehicle until you tell me, no, I'm out. I'm out of the market. Unfortunately, though, after 30 days or 60 days, the consumer is still not making up their mind. We're seeing buying cycle decisions taking longer out in the field, regardless of area in the country. That's what we're seeing. So if we did an urban science review, which we do a lot of, and we realize how far out somebody actually took delivery of a vehicle from when they visited us, and it wasn't from us, that's eye-opening. Extend out the duration that you're communicating. Be intuitive in the conversation itself. Understand through leaving good notes behind, because I don't know about you, my memory, not the greatest. And I'm not going to blame it on all the concussions I had from college lacrosse. Not doing that. I'm just telling you that we're human. That as good as our memory we think it is, when you're running 120 days of be-back activity and you're doing your thing and you don't always remember what you and Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so was talking about, how are you going to be an effective communicator? If you expect quality coming into your realm to get these people on the showroom floor and deliver them a vehicle, you need to hold yourself to the same quality quotient. Hey, Brendan, that's pretty cool. Quality quotient.
I like that. It's alliteration.
I don't know. It just came off the top of my head. I'm very alliterated. Huh. Is that a word? Alliterated? Can I say that?
We'll make a one for you.
I like it. Thank you. That's good. Josh, I made a new word up. You proud of me?
So proud.
So proud. See, here. Aw. So if we expect quality, we have to give quality. Not just from the experience, not just from the communication, from the amount of time that we're allowing somebody to make a decision. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. So have patience. Slow things down to speed them up. Focus on your closing ratio for first time as well as B-backs. And I am telling you, you are going to see a difference. And speaking of the difference, after this break that we're about to have, right? We're coming up on a break?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. Okay. We're going to pull out what? We're going to do mailbag?
We got a couple questions from some friends, some viewers, some other clients that I have seen what you've been talking about recently the past few episodes, and they want some other answers.
Perfect. Does it have anything to do about me holding up the sign?
Unfortunately, not for these ones.
Oh, I quit. I'm out.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Hey, we'll see you in a minute after the break. Let's field some of these questions. Hit me some random fly balls. Let's see how I do. We'll see you in a minute. Thanks.
This podcast is powered by PMD. Our full-service ad agency specializes in providing creative solutions for new car dealerships looking to sell more vehicles, increase service numbers, and promote their brand image more effectively. We use our experience in television, OTT, digital, social media, and more to anticipate challenges and find effective market-dominating solutions so that our dealership partners can thrive in an ever-changing landscape. You can learn more at pmdusa.com.
We're back. Any Monty Python fans out there? Maybe you've heard of it. And now for something completely different. Yes. And now for something completely different indeed. So, Brendan, my pad, boom. My instrument of success, known as my pen. At least that's what we called it when I was in retail.
They haven't changed the name yet.
Boom. I have nothing in front of me. Why? I don't know. Only kidding. Let's do mailbag stuff.
Absolutely.
Fire away and let's see where we get. Let's talk about stuff. Let's talk about stuff. And this is a product of, initially, when we first started, it was friends in the car business and family. Well, you should, did you ever, how about this? Tell about that. And then we started to get a trickling, and now we're starting to see more and more suggestions on topics, questions about different things. People starting to raise their hand and go, would you entertain bringing me on the pod? I think I can contribute, and here's why. So keep it coming, please. You want to get going?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Giddy up.
So the first question we have says this. I wanted to speak with my manager about doing more community outreach, but I'm afraid he won't be into the idea. Do you think that community outreach has relevancy in our industry? And what are some ideas that have worked for you in the past?
Whose idea was, I'm out. I don't want to do this. Isn't that a lot of times what we hear though? And that's what a great first question.
I know, really.
Thank you. That
riveting stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate it. The concept, this is a lot like the prison analogy in my life, right? People will argue that prisons are necessary because it puts more bad people away. So we need to build more prisons. If we build more prisons, we'll take crime off the street. Just do me a favor. Don't build one in my backyard and screw up my property values. Okay, so community outreach. Most people in community outreach, really, and we've seen it, right, in our ad agency, a golf outing, sponsoring a little league team, maybe as a bowling league or a gamer team, right? We can slap the name of our dealership or dealership group onto that initiative, right? Josh, you're a big movie guy. What was on the back of the baseball jersey for the Bad News Bears?
Ooh. Trivia for...
It was for a bar. It was for a bar.
It was actually, I'll give you the first, Chico's Bail.
Oh, Chico's Bail Bonds.
Chico's Bail Bonds. I actually got you on that trivia.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
More like 40 seconds.
There's two Bad News Bears. There's a remake.
There's only really one.
Yeah.
The second one was meh. What am I referencing that for? Well, anybody could slap a name on a jersey. Anybody could throw a bunch of baseball bats. Anybody could, buy new lacrosse nets. Yes, I got lacrosse in there. Anybody could do that. If you want community outreach and you want people to see you as being philanthropic, it needs to be argued and it needs to be thought about that you need to be involved at some level. And I'm not even talking about, Bob in service is a coach in the Schmielpeck Little League. So we should sponsor a team there, or we should sponsor Bob's son's team. Why? Because Bob's come on, we can do better. Can't we get more involvement? You know what? The Subaru retailers that we represent do, just to single out, and I'm not saying that other manufacturers do a poor job. It comes to mind with Subaru, and they wear you'll see employees from fixed and variable departments. They put on the blue T-shirt, right, the Subaru Care stuff, right, and they show up at the shelter on adoption day to help get pets rescued. They show up at the hospital. They give out blankets to kids with cancer. They just they find ways to be involved, not to get trophies. Participation trophies is not what we're after here. If we want to talk about being philanthropic,
Absolutely.
we have to do more than just stroke checks and slap our name on a car door of a hole-in-one prize, right? We have to do more than try to wiggle into a foursome because the boss put up $1,500 to sponsor a hole. We've got to be more involved in our community because, frankly, studies have proven this, right? I think we all know this. At least I'm hoping we all get this, that the lion's share of the people that work in a dealership rooftop are members of the very community that they're selling into. So logically, if that's the case, and I don't see any reason to argue that it's not like everybody in the dealership is traveling from 2 states away and making it barely on time, right? Don't you want your community to be a better place? A more fun place? More respected place? Of course. Who wouldn't? So maybe a little bit more involvement. Not a ton more. I mean, we work a lot of hours in retail, right? We do, right? But we could still give of ourselves just a little bit. And it's one thing to put a name on the back of a baseball jersey. It's another thing maybe to show up on at a game, even if you had to get the boss to spring for some pizzas, or you have somebody that played college ball and you can get that person to show up and help out on a clinic one day, or there's a hospital blood drive. And right, what are we doing? Can we take a page from the Subarus of the world and other manufacturers that do this philanthropic stuff? Does that kind of answer what you were about?
Absolutely. As you were going on, I was thinking about the stuff that we've done with some Subaru clients, and it just makes so much sense to not only help the manufacturer's brand, but the dealership brand too, and how they can reach out to the people in their community.
No, I agree. Okay. And
Great.
Shame on Josh for not knowing bail bonds. That's interesting.
I'm going to go rewatch Bad News Bears.
He's watching it right now. Look at him.
He's got to go show his kids a new movie.
I love it. You got another one for us?
I do, absolutely. Here is a question from a sales manager. How should I handle high employee turnover rate as a sales manager?
You sure you want to ask me that one?
I think it's a great question.
Okay, so go to an online, I won't name names. Go to an online retailer, go to a retailer, go somewhere and buy a mirror and find a place in your house to hang it. And look in the mirror. I could stop there. Isn't the hardest thing that we have as human beings is to block our ego? If we let our ego do our talking for us on a regular basis, is that healthy for us and the people around us? If we really think that the person was a good hire and we put them on the showroom floor and we trained them to whatever degree, and here we go again, fade crept in. Is it their fault? Is it our fault as the manager? Is it anybody's fault? Is it a collaboration of effort? What really is afoot here? I've always maintained that there's no such thing as a bad hire. There's abandonment after hiring. There's forgetfulness. There's an enthusiastic run to the flagpole with the fade flag flying from it, right? But does it have to be that way? Shouldn't we support each other, right? You can't blame the sales team for sales ineffectiveness if the field general isn't willing to go, and I am part of this, and this is our plan, because either mediocrity is going to kick in or whatever it is, fade or otherwise, and we're going to have a problem, right?
Mm-hmm. It's that short and sweet. Is if it doesn't come from the top down, look in the mirror.
So no one's on trial here. I'm not being punitive against you as a manager. Right? All I'm saying is, if you thought the person was a good hire, right, and they came out of training showing promise, why did we stop? Training is professional athletes still work with hitting coaches, running coaches, strength training coaches, coaches for coaches, coaches of coaches. They go in the film room. We don't do that well in the car business. Continuing education is almost like an oxymoron in the business. That's my answer.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. As someone who does coach, you can give someone all the tools, but sometimes you have to continuously be on top of them with those tools. You can't just give it to them.
So let's talk about that for a second. You're a world champion Irish dancer.
Yes.
I was going to say step dancer, but I know that's not right.
Tomato, tomato.
Tomato. Okay, so tomato. Does fade creep in if you don't work on your own personal skills and you go to the Worlds?
Absolutely.
Okay. If you have you ever coached anybody up that got into the Worlds?
Mm-hmm.
What's the highest finish of anybody you've ever trained?
Well, I'm a recently new teacher, but I've had many friends of mine who have gone on to be top 5 at the World.
At the Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Did they get there because they're good looking?
No.
Did they get there because they're lucky?
No.
Did they drop sweat on the floor?
All the time.
Not some of the time.
All the time.
So fade creeps in when it's not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You got any other questions?
I do.
Oh.
This
okay.
one is a personal favorite of mine because it has to do with what I do when I'm here at PMD. Should dealerships make a total shift into digital advertising or stick to their traditional formats like print and cable TV?
That's a great one. You heard Brendan just mention PMD. That's our ad agency. As a matter of fact, that's where these episodes are recorded, right? In Boonton, New Jersey, our all-inclusive agency that does everything from creation to buying to placement to metrics to data to everything, digital space, you name it. There's a seat at the table for various components, media types, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody down the road, a ways back, right? Down the road, a ways back. That was interesting.
Really?
Somebody at some point in the past said, well, there's traditional and there's non-traditional, or there's traditional and there's digital, or all of a sudden we took this thing and we put it into two separate swim lanes. The first thing we have to understand is we can't spend money just because we're bored. We can't spend money for the sake of spending money. We have to tie ourselves to something wacky called per vehicle retail. We have to be responsible to the P&L, right? The statement. We have to do those things. So whatever the dollars per car is that we want to spend, then we can reverse engineer it, and we should. That's how we do it, right? It's not a paid public announcement. It's just the way you think about it. Invert your thinking. Come up with a per car ad spend, multiply it times your forecast. If you're not sure what your forecast is, go back to the very first episode that we did on this pod. And there's this swoopy doopy form that you can fill out. We'll give it to you for free, and it'll tell you how many people you need to get in front of to deliver the number of vehicles that you want to deliver, right? So when you know what your forecast is for deliveries and you multiply it by that total by the amount of money that you want to spend per vehicle, you have a total to spend, right? Now, how does that work against your co-op and everything else? You're going to come up with a total to spend. Now reverse engineer it. What are the things that you know works? Because of not just sourcing, because we know sourcing is difficult. What was the most recent piece of advertising that motivated you to come see us today? And that's not always a successful question because it doesn't always yield an answer. Okay. So when we look at the different types of media, Should it be lopsided and one-sided, or should there be a balance? I mean, let's be honest. There's a lot of people in our industry that feel that they can go digital only and sell more cars or the same vehicles, and as opposed to a diversified media portfolio. That's fancy speak for put it around in different places that work. And for goodness sake, right? Don't have splintered messages where you're talking about this and then you're talking about that and you're talking about over here. That's the crazy talk. Crazy talk. Right, Josh? Crazy talk.
Crazy talk.
Crazy talk. Crazy.
Crazy talk.
Crazy talk, right? So if we know some of it is our gut instinct, some of it is what we see in our CRM, what we hear on our showroom floor, and what we experience out in the world of data in terms of how do people consume their media? How do they react to it? When do they do it? Why do they do it? What makes sense? These are the advertising decisions that wind up telling us what media types. I want to be agnostic in my answer. I want to be agnostic. So much so that it's not one particular, listen, you may be in a market where newspaper is still woohoo, as Homer Simpson would say, woohoo, right? Maybe that's the case. And you could be laughing at that going, newspaper? Man, that's old as the hills. Nobody reads that anymore, at least not in my market. Okay, so that says that different things work in different areas of the country. We experience that on a regular basis. So if we tie ourselves to either one vertical or one type, are we ignoring the rest of the population? We can't say everything to everybody in every media type, but we can take the things that we know resonate in our community and still have the ability to split test, A/B test certain messages against others, right? Consistency matters. Don't roll your eyes. Consistency matters in terms of you can't go dark for 90 days and expect something great to happen 90 days later when you start talking again. Have some type of voice in your market through good times and times where things are a little bit off. I won't use the BAD word. That works for Bryson on the Live Tour. I ever see his yardage book. But there's periods after each letter. I'm not doing that here. There's no such thing as the BAD word. There's great and there's good, and sometimes there's good enough. We always want to strive to be better than where we are now. Does that sum it up?
That answers it perfectly.
Okay.
And I have one more for you.
Okay.
That I want to get quick, and then we can wrap everything up.
So 27 minutes I have? Okay, go.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm a single rooftop dealer surrounded by a large dealer group. How can I stand out more compared to a juggernaut brand?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Real short and easy answer, but don't cut me off after this.
I won't.
Stop allowing the juggernaut to steal your time. Stop allowing the big juggernaut dealer group or the stores that are tied to maybe a big box environment to captivate your mind to such a degree where you feel you have nothing to offer. What business are we in? We're in the people business, right? So that means that we're not machines. If the juggernaut dealer group, right, has more of everything, it's still a level playing field when the consumer walks onto the showroom floor. Whether the consumer walks onto their showroom floor or ours, the individuals, plural, right? The salesperson, the management team, the delivery coordinator, everybody, right? The team that works with that person in both environments determines which is the store that's going to earn that consumer's business. Now, it could be argued from a budget perspective that you could ride the coattails of the big juggernaut, right? You can still be responsible and spend because you can't outspend a juggernaut. Why would you want to? You don't have to. And by the way, we can invert this. If you're interested, contact me. And we'll, as a team, be more than happy to explain that to you. You'll see contact information coming up, I'm sure, somewhere. Right, Josh?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and at
yeah.
the end of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
and
Man
in
of
our
many
bio.
words. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, my. You sound like the Kool-Aid guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right? So don't think for 1 minute. You shouldn't. I've heard this before. I'm making a decision on where to go to work based on how big that dealership is or how big that dealership group is really. So it's all about how big a group is. When the consumer walks onto that specific showroom floor, it's showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, that's when it's showtime. that's when. Because it's out the window how big or small that store is. What matters is at that moment in time, how big a job are you going to do? Let's invert the word big. How big a job are you going to do as a team to get that individual to go, you know, I've been looking and I want what you have. Like my sarcasm. No, I want the blue one. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. I think you said it perfectly. The most valuable thing is time, and time is money.
Time is money. Time is money. And too many times, pun intended, too many times we think that if we work faster, we're working harder, or if we work faster, we can sell more, or if we work faster. The only time that really works is in a bay in a service department, right? That's why you see 8 technicians turning 80 plus hours a week on a 40-hour week, because they're able to get a job that's rated for 5 hours done in 3.5, and they make more hours, right? In that environment, more is more. When we're working with humans trying to sell something, whether it's a service drive, an accessory counter, or a showroom floor, or whatever the environment, I think we'd all agree that the reality is the more thorough, the more we treat somebody the way we want to be treated, the more we focus on our process and not worry about, you know, the juggernaut sitting on our shoulder, or the little one, you know, the chihuahua nipping at our heels, the little store that does, you know, however many units a month compared to us. Don't compare yourself to any of that. Compare yourself to yourself. Look at that mirror that you just spent that money on. That's my advice. That's my advice. That's my advice.
It's great advice.
Well, why, thank you.
Of course.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's Joey's final thoughts? Joey's final thoughts are, let's go. Joey's final thoughts are, well, I have a lot of them. I'll try to limit them. In my years of coaching, 35-year coaching career, as well as retail and all the other things I've done, one of my favorite pregame conversations in the locker room before we went out and dismantled whoever it was we were going to dismantle. Total annihilation is how I like to think of it. I never said, let's go out there and kill him. I never said, okay, let's go over the plays one more time, or let's go over the film more. No. It's as simple as this. Clear your mind for a second. Close your eyes. Do it. Well, not if you're driving. If you're listening to this, stay off the guardrails. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Open your eyes. Okay? Now I want everybody to look to their left. And I want you to look to your right. And look in those eyes. Look again to your left. Look again to your right. It's everybody that you just looked at that has a hand in your success. And yours in their success or failure. It's not just about being in business for yourself as a salesperson, as an example, right? Your delivery count drives your income, drives your ability to go buy the new boat or the bigger house, or move from a rental to a first-time purchase, whatever it is, right? There's also team play involved. And by looking to the left and to the right and looking your team members in the eyes, are you in this together? Can you pull this off? That's my final thoughts for today. Because, yeah, the whole reason that most people like gloves as opposed to mittens, it allows for more dexterity. But when the time comes, you can still put your fingers together and make one cohesive unit. Think about that. Think about how to make your world a better place and the fallout from making it a better place, either through philanthropy, team play, better process, less fade in your life, personal or professional, and whatever else it takes. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you just participating with us. Keep those comments and questions and suggestions coming. And until next time, this is Joe Levine for the Car Guy Simple podcast. Thank you, and we'll speak again soon. Have a great day.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and at carguysimple.com to learn more and see behind-the-scenes action. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to send Joe an email at joe@carguysimple.com This is the Car Guys Simple Podcast. See you next time.